Good morning, dear students. Today we are going to read a very thought provoking poem written by Jeev Patel, and the name of the poem is On Killing a Tree. Before we read it and understand it, let's know something about the poet. Jeev Patel was born in the year 1940. He is a poet and playwright. He is a medical practitioner by profession. He was educated at St. Xavier High School and Grant Medical College, Bombay. His poems are unspectacular takeoffs on the Indian scene on which he comments with fastidiousness. He gives very minute detail in the Frostian style. In the year 1984, he was awarded Woodrow Wilson Fellowship to the Smithsonian Institute, Washington, D.C., to write a play, Mr. Behram. Some of his famous poems are On Killing a Tree, Nariyal Purnima, Nargal, etc. Let me give you a brief introduction of this poem, On Killing a Tree. In this poem, the poet sensitizes the reader and highlights the fact that trees are living things. He equates trees with humans to convey that trees should not be cut, because destroying trees is just like killing a human being. A tree does not die by merely cutting, because it regrows from where it is cut. If it has to be destroyed, then it has to be uprooted. So we all need to think that what all a tree requires to grow properly. But we don't think even a bit when we have to cut a tree. Let's read the text and understand it. First stanza. It takes much time to kill a tree. Not a simple jab of the knife will do it. It has grown, slowly consuming the earth, rising out of it, feeding upon its crust, absorbing years of sunlight, air, water, and out of its leprous hide sprouting leaves. Which means that a simple cut does not destroy a tree. A tree grows gradually. It is rooted in the soil. A plant takes nutrition from the soil to grow into a big tree. The tree is firmly bound with the soil, and it takes in sunlight, water, and air to grow into a strong trunk and have numerous leaves. Second stanza. So hack and chop, but this alone won't do it. Not so much pain will do it. The bleeding bark will heal, and from close to the ground will rise curled green twigs, miniature boughs, which if unchecked will expand again to former size. Humans cut and chop the bark of trees into many pieces, but that is not sufficient to destroy the tree. The point of the tree which gets cut gives out sap just like a human being bleeds. Gradually, this would heal, and from there, new branches start growing again. Third stanza. No, the root has to be pulled out of the anchoring earth. It is to be roped, tied, and pulled out, snapped out, or pulled out entirely, out from the earth cave, and the strength of the tree exposed. The source, white and wet, the most sensitive, hidden 4 years inside the earth. The poet says that in order to kill the tree, it has to be uprooted. One has to separate the tree from the earth which supports it. The roots of the tree bind the tree with the soil in the pit of the earth. From there, the most sensitive and hidden part of the tree, the roots, have to be detached. The roots are white in color and are damp. The last stanza, then the matter of scorching and choking in sun and air, browning, hardening, twisting, withering, and then it is done. So once the tree has been uprooted, then gradually it withers and dries up with the action of heat and wind. The trunk will become brown, twist, and will harden. And finally, the tree will die this way. The life of the tree will come to an end. So, do you think that this is a wise decision to harm a tree or to uproot the tree this way? So, definitely, this poem makes us think. It makes us think number of times before harming a tree. So let's have a look at the poetic devices. So you all can see that this poem has been written in free verse and there is no rhyme scheme in the poem. Then we also find examples of enjambment here, which means when one sentence continues into two or more lines. For example, not a simple jab of the knife will do it. It has grown slowly, consuming the earth. Also, you can see rising out of it, comma, feeding, next line upon its crust, absorbing years of sunlight, air, water, and out of its leprous hide, sprouting leaves. So, the poet has used the device enjambment in the poem. Let's have a look at the other devices used in the poem. The poet has also used metaphor in the poem. Few examples are leprous hide and bleeding bark. Leprous hide is the uneven color of the surface of the trunk of a tree, and bleeding bark, which means the sap coming out of tree where it is cut, is compared to the bleeding from the wound in a human's body, and it is compared to the skin of a person suffering from leprosy. We also find examples of alliteration and repetition in the poem on killing a tree. Alliteration means repetition of a consonant sound in two or more closely placed words. For example, bleeding bark, where you can see B sound has been repeated. White and wet. War sound has been repeated in the same line. So these are examples of alliteration. Besides this, pulled out word has been repeated number of times. So it's a word or sentence that is repeated to lay emphasis. So repetition has also been used by the poet in the poem on killing a tree. After discussing the poetic devices, let's talk about the theme of this poem, which is very important to understand. It is a scathing criticism of human callousness and cruelty in chopping down trees for agriculture, urbanization, and industrialization. Apparently, the poem reads like a how-to-do manual of killing a tree, but actually, it is a passionate appeal not to cut trees. So if we look at the message conveyed through this poem, it's quite clear. The poem conveys the message that trees are living beings just like any other form of life. And we are no one to take their life from them just because they can't speak for themselves. They have strong survival instincts and can withstand any type of assault, trauma, or crisis. It is not easy to kill them, for they have a never say die attitude to life. as we read in the poem, that one needs to put in lots of efforts to uproot a tree. It's not that easy. So we all need to think about all this. So that was all about the poem on killing a tree. I hope you all understood the poem very well. Thank you so much for watching. Do read the text and clear all your doubts whenever you feel like.